And for more on the race for the White House, we are joined by Niall Stanage, White House columnist with our partner, The Hill. Niall, thanks so much for being here.
Good to be with you, Natasha.
So as you heard in Evan's piece, former President Trump addressed the recent Supreme Court decisions that have been really divisive this week. Seeing how Mr. Trump oversaw the conservative shift in the high court, does he see these decisions as his own personal victory? Do you expect he will be framing them as such going forward?
It depends on which decision, and it was interesting that in the report from Evan there, it showed him talking about the affirmative action decision. I think he will take credit for that. I mean, obviously he did nominate 3 of the justices on the court. But my point really is that affirmative action decision, according to opinion polls, is likely to be fairly popular. Affirmative action programs tend to get less than 50% support in public opinion polls. So in that sense, it could be a politically good thing for the former president. Clearly, that stands in very stark contrast to the abortion issue, Natasha, which we have seen hurt the Republican Party because in that instance, the Supreme Court ruled in a way that is unpopular with the public at large.
Certainly. And Niall, I want to ask you, there is a Washington Post report that I know that you're monitoring tonight. It says that former President Trump called Arizona Governor Doug Ducey after losing the state in the 2020 election, putting pressure to overturn the state's results. What are you tracking there?
It's obviously an interesting and serious allegation that has been made. The suggestion that the former president pressured Doug Ducey, then the governor of Arizona, to essentially delegitimize the election result in that state. It was around about 10,500 vote margin for President Biden that then President Trump apparently wanted to be overcome or invalidated. That is, by its nature, a very serious thing to do. I would say, though, Natasha, we obviously know that there have been allegations like this already, because in the state of Georgia, we have a tape recording of the then president calling Brad Raffensperger, the Republican Secretary of State, and pressuring Raffensperger to find, as he put it, enough votes to overcome Biden's victory in 2020.
Yeah, and to your point, Niall, as we are seeing that ongoing investigation in Georgia, do you think we will see another in Arizona based on the information that has been released so far?
One of the interesting things about the Arizona story is that it feeds into the probe that is already going on by the special counsel Jack Smith. Now, of course, Jack Smith has brought charges in relation to the Mar-a-Lago documents, but he is still investigating the events that took place in the period between the actual election and President Biden being inaugurated, obviously including January the 6th, but also including these apparent attempts or alleged attempts to overturn the election or to pressure other officials to overturn the election. So I think that is the framework into which these Arizona allegations fit.
You know, Trump and several other Republican presidential candidates did speak this weekend at the Moms for Liberty event in Philadelphia. Now, notably, that group has been labeled extremist by the Southern Poverty Law Center, that nonprofit civil rights organization, in part because of their mission to adjust school curriculums to meet their ideology. No matter who wins the nomination, do the candidate appearances mean that parents' increasing role in education is a leading GOP issue for voters?
That's a really complicated question. The short answer is yes. The issue of parental influence on children's curriculums, school curriculums, even the potential election of school principals, those are becoming more active or more involved issues in Republican politics. Now, I would separate out, Natasha, that broad issue from a topic like the group that you're talking about, which is a very, very controversial group. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't they quote Hitler in one of their publications or online newsletters recently? So that, I want to separate out that group from the broader issue of parental rights in education.
Yes, which they did apologize for afterwards, but you're right, the Indiana chapter absolutely did do that. Always appreciate the context and time. Niall Stanage, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.